So hello everyone. This is the APAC friendly version of the Kubernetes SIG Talks meeting, and typically folks from the Asian side of the world and the Asia Pac ANZ side of the world join in on this. Though the others are welcome too. So in this meeting, we speak about various issues, PRs related to SIG docs, or if there are any release deliverables that are being blocked by SIG docs approvals or reviewers, or etc. But before I go ahead, I want to sort of um, announce that this is under the Kubernetes code of conduct. Every meeting, every interaction that you have here and on Slack and on GitHub is governed by the code of conduct as laid down in the Kubernetes repository. And it basically boils down to be excellent to one another and refrain from the usage of any harmful or abusive language. If you see any instance of that, please, feel free to file a report um, with the Kubernetes Code of Conduct Committee. Um, I shall just sort of paste the agenda documentation here so that y'all can have the link to what I'm going to share right now. Also, all the people who are attending the call and haven't contributed thus far, y'all can enter your name under the new contributors section for the current meeting. I do see a few familiar faces, so I don't think anyone's brand new here. But nevertheless, yeah, that's like the PSA before we start the meeting. So that being said, I'm gonna share the agenda documentation for the meeting, and if we're fairly light on the agenda, not much to actually go through. um, as always, we will be going through the updates or reminders for this week, which basically, serves as an FYI for those who are new. We have formal approvers and reviewers within SIG docs taking on the responsibility of approving and reviewing PRs. And we term them as PR wranglers. These are week-long shifts taken on by formal approvers and reviewers. Not today, this week, especially, we have, not especially, but this week we have Taylor and who's the PR wrangler who will be looking after all the approvals and reviews for the PRs that are there currently. This does not mean that another reviewer or approver can't step in, but this person will be your primary point of contact to reach out to. And we'd request that instead of privately DMing them, you publicly actually ask for an approval or a review on the channel so that it gives other folks also the opportunity um, to sort of share the load with the PR wrangler. Because as y'all might have seen, we have quite a few PRs in our repository, and the workload can get a little bit intimidating. But we also have Faika Ansari, who is shadowing Taylor this time around. And what a PR wrangler shadow essentially does is learn the ropes on the job of how to, wrangle PRs and what are the nitty-gritties of approving and reviewing a PR. What should we, look out for when you're reviewing a PR from a docs perspective and from a technical perspective. So FICA is shadowing Taylor this time around. Next week's PR wrangler is Tim. And the week after that, Kiming is the PR wrangler. Now, if you want to be a shadow like FICA, you just need to let myself or one of the other tech leads or the co-chairs know that you want to become a PR wrangler shadow, and we would be happy to approve you. What this entails is working alongside the PR wrangler for the week and learning from them how the whole process works. But I'm going to stop there for a bit and see if anybody has any questions around what I spoke so far.
Okay.
All right. If y'all have any questions and if y'all are not able to, unmute yourself for any reason whatsoever, please make sure you enter them on the chat. I'll try getting to them towards the end of the meeting. All right. So that's the basic sanity check slash health check that we go through with respect to updates and reminders every meeting. The second part is that of the agenda. Now, since as you'll all know, release 1.29 is underway, and I believe Sriram is on the release team this time around, and there are various verticals, so we seek updates from the docs and the comms verticals. Since this is an APAC friendly meeting, and typically people who are in the release team are based out of the Americas and EU, we currently don't have any update, but we've requested them to post their updates async on the doc after the meeting gets done, because obviously they're not able to actually stay up for this. So um, that's one of the updates that we seek out. Um, you know, during the release cycle. And if there are any blockers in terms of approvals or reviews, we sort of can get our efforts to that and get it expedited if necessary. So we don't have the status right now, but we should have it by EOD if possible. So yeah. The next one is issues in PRs. Since nobody has entered any issues or PRs currently under the section that need any attention, or y'all have any questions about, I'm gonna assume that there are none. But I also would like to take a pause to see if there are any issues specifically that are requiring attention from, like, the tech lead or chair, or from an approval perspective or from a review perspective. Y'all can either unmute yourself and speak, or y'all can enter it on the chat and I can read that out as well. So I'll pause for a bit here. Please flag your issues or PRs if any. So Anuj had a question about the PR Wrangler Shadow program, which we spoke about previously, and I'm gonna answer that. The question was, is there any eligibility to become to shadow a PR Wrangler? So no, there is no eligibility criteria as such. The shadowing process is basically you trying to learn how the whole uh, approval and review process works within SIG docs. So if that is something of interest, please let any of the tech leads or co-chairs know by posting on the channel, and we shall get you added as a shadow. So this is on a weekly basis, so you'll be tagging alongside the week's PR wrangler to learn more about the process. Hopefully that answered your question, Anuj. Okay. If there are any further concerns, you can enter them on the chat, and I'll get to them, or you can unmute yourself and speak. But since there have been no questions or concerns coming in other than the one I just spoke about, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is discussion points or questions that we probably might not have gotten to earlier on. So the first thing is we are looking at incorporating generative AI, or at least there has been a suggestion from Linux Foundation to see if generative AI is a feasible um, thing to incorporate within the docs in an attempt to make it more accessible and more user friendly, and for better user experience in general. So if you haven't had the chance to go through the discussion item yet, it's up on GitHub on this link that is there on the agenda. So please, if you have any specific things that you want, or specific things that you want to convey, or you have any suggestions or opinion about generative AI being incorporated into the Kubernetes docs, or you have some solutions that you want to suggest, please feel free to chime in on that. It's open to everyone to comment, so you do not need to worry that you're not eligible, or you need a specific amount of privilege to do that. Anybody is welcome to contribute to that discussion. So that's the first one. And the second one is localization contribution update. I'm just going to scroll down. All right, so this one is also closed, but we have the whole thing was that we were looking to update the contribution, uh, not contribution, localization docs in the contribution guide. And we wanted to sort of seek consensus and understand if there were any more items within the doc that needed an update. There were a few things that we could think of from our experience, from the top of our head. So this is basically, um, these are the things that were discussed, and we are moving the work into an issue 43116. I will link that here as well, so y'all can go through that and see if this is something that y'all want to actually pick up, because this is basically improving the content around localization contributions, and you'll probably have to work alongside Abby and a bunch of others who are already um, taking initiative on this, because it's a huge piece of work. So this is something that, if it's not a good first issue, I can definitely not recommend this to a new contributor. But if this is something that you're already sort of there in SIGDocs and you're aware of what needs to be done, y'all can like tag team with another experienced contributor, and contribute to this issue. So this is just kind of issue. Right. So if there is any sort of require if there's any sort of up suggestion that you have around how we could better improve our documentation around localization contributions, please feel free to suggest that as well, over and above what Abby has mentioned. So I'm going to take a pause here again, so that I want to let it sink in, and see if you all have any thoughts about this, or if you all have any questions or something like that.
Yeah, so regarding the generative AI discussion, yeah, I came across a PR which was a POC of using generative AI to write documentation. Like, actually, I think it was writing the localized version, and the author has used GPT-4 to translate the English text to Spanish. And in this particular PR, one thing that I found interesting was the uh, question regarding CLA was unclear, and Tim had commented that we are still unclear how the CLA needs to be set up when the
That's
content is
yeah.
written by generative AI.
Yeah, because contributor license agreement essentially boils down to the fact that a contributor is the person who's actually um, writing the contributing to the repository or writing the content that's there in the repository. So essentially, that is it's not a bone of contention really, but it is a matter around which we have had several discussions, not just from the perspective of chat gpt but or any other ai tool, but in general, you cannot just have machine translations copied and pasted, because AI or even your Google Translate can throw out utter rubbish sometimes, and might not be comprehensible to a user. So you need to sort of look at it as a reader or as a consumer of the documentation, and see if that is actually the right one. I don't think I mean, I am not dissing the whole trend, but I don't think models are just as intelligent enough to start writing documentation on their own. They can probably be a supplementary sort of a tool, but I don't think we're there yet with respect to something being written all by itself, which is sort of what we're trying to do here. And LF as in Linux Foundation is sort of happy to chip in with any help that we require uh, for tooling from very specific vendors. So that is the TLDR. Um, but I think I've had this discussion in different forums about translation and how it is not possible for just Google Translate or just a tool to be integrated and write the whole documentation, but maybe as like a supplementary sort of a thing you could use it. But if there are any other like if this is an opinion you feel strongly about, I'd recommend you sort of put it in here, and I think it's already linking to it, but you
Right.
can feel free to put it in here.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'll go through the entire discussion first and then decide whether or not to chip in.
All right, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, so other than that, are there any thoughts anybody else has around generative AI for Kubernetes documentation, or about the other localization contribution thing that we were just discussing? If not, I can
Hey
move on to,
Divya,
yeah. Sorry, hi,
I'm Gaurav.
hi, Gaurav.
I'm sort of new to the SIG docs thing,
Okay.
and it has been a month since I'm
Hmm.
contributing, but I've been meeting so many good people so far. So around this generative AI thing, I think in the beginning we can sort of implement this as a workaround of docs. If I can post an example of IV. There's a website called Ivy, and they just use the generative AI to as a roadmap to their docs. If that sounds any insightful.
I would recommend that you chime in on that discussion. Like the discussion item that is there on the agenda documentation, right? Like just let me post the link again. Um, I would recommend that you post the discussion item like this as a discussion reply to the discussion item for generative AI, so that others are also aware. Because uh, as there are only 4 people on the call, we never make consensus over calls. And that's why I'd recommend that you have that out, like your opinion. And no opinion is foolish, stupid, or whatever. Like, I used to think that when I joined, that it is dumb of me to have an opinion, but it's not. So please do not feel scared or intimidated to actually post your opinion there. And you can provide the example that you were talking about, and say that this is what is the suggestion that you are trying to put forth. And from there onwards, we can sort of have like a discussion around that publicly, instead of just us for discussing amongst ourselves like we're in some school group or something.
Right, right. Understood. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, not a problem at all. Thank you for bringing it up. um Anything else, folks, before we move on to the next topic?
Nothing from my side.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so the next one is that this is, I mean, this already probably y'all are aware, but the CFP for KubeCon EU 2024 that's going to be held in Paris is now open. So if there are any talk ideas that you have, please put forth those now. And you know you may never know, you might get selected. So the link is there on the docs here, the agenda doc here, sorry. And in the same vein, at the upcoming KubeCon, which is to be held in Chicago in November, we have a contributor summit for all Kubernetes contributors. And at that contributor summit, we have a doc sprint. So unfortunately, we have not extended it to a virtual platform yet. And it's in person. But if there is an interest in the in-person doc sprint, and if any of y'all are actually attending, please feel free to register. This will also um, mean that you've already registered for KubeCon NA, so that amendment will be made. And this registration is also pending approval from the Contributor Summit team. So those are the updates that I have. Are there any questions around these 2 points, please? Okay, great. Are there any other questions or discussion points or any issues or PRs that y'all want to bring up before we close the call? Um, I mean, I want to open the discussion up to everyone on the call to, sort of bring up anything that they might want to actually add to the agenda documentation or speak with respect to contribution to Kubernetes docs, or any of the issues or PRs that y'all are working on.
Divya, I remember that you had proposed the issue wrangler role sometime back.
Yep.
Can I know what is happening
Yeah,
there?
sure. So there are a few nits in the documentation that was proposed by Haripriya. More or less, it looks pretty okay to me. Once that documentation is in place, we will be sending out a call for nominations on the Google group. So please make sure that you have joined our mailing list. And once we send out a call for nominations, we expect that to run for around maybe 15 to 20 days, and then we will be selecting the issue wranglers. um, there are also potential plans to sort of have a shadow program, but that's again in like the distant future, not immediately. But yeah, that's the update that I have for you. We've finished reviewing the docs, more or less it looks good. We just have a few nits that we want Haripriya to address, and once that's done, we will merge the doc and issue a call for nominations. Did that sort of make sense, and did that
Yes,
answer your
yes,
question?
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other questions, PRs, issues? Okay, I see a chat item. So contributor summit sessions will be available on YouTube. No, as far as I know. But I can ask if that is something that we plan to do maybe starting next. So this is just very specific to Kubernetes contributors. So we have a variety of unconference sessions wherein all the respective SIGs break out into their own sort of unconference sessions, and we talk about the major issues and PRs that we're targeting and the goals that we have for our SIG, and then we move on to like these talks that we have, for which again CFPs are open. And last but not the least, we have like things like doc sprint, and where contributors can actually be onboarded, and we plan to sort of like do a live contribution thing at the doc sprint. So yeah, it's not recorded unfortunately because of like the breadth and scope with respect to recording. So I'm sorry about that, but it's something we can probably look at. I mean, we can suggest it, but I don't know if there is something that's possible in that case, because there are multiple unconference sessions going on at the same time. So I don't think it's possible, but we can definitely suggest it for the next contributor summit. Did that answer your question, Anuj? Okay, so I've not received any response. I'm assuming that's answered. Any other questions? I'll just write this down here so that I don't forget.
Divya, I had a question.
Hmm.
So regarding the PR Wrangler, should
Hmm.
I message my Wrangler of the week on Kubernetes, like Slack?
No, no. So, you want to become a shadow, or are you looking at, for a very particular approval on a, set of PRs? What is it that you're looking out for? That is what I'm trying to
I'm
understand. Yeah.
I'm looking out for becoming a shadow PR Wrangler.
Okay, so when you want to become a shadow, or even if you want approvals, what I'd recommend is that you post it on the SIGDocs channel. One of the tech leads or the co-chairs will take a look at it and confirm it on the thread itself that you have been added. So you can go through the list of PR wranglers. I believe the list is also there on the agenda documentation, and you can sort of go through that and figure out which who you want to shadow, and specify that on the SIGDoc Slack channel. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so if there's nothing else, I think we can punt this call for today, and I'll give you back 30 minutes of your time. So yeah, if there's anything, please feel free to voice out on the SIG Docs channel and we'll take a look for you. Other than that, I hope to see you around in the SIG Docs and the Kubernetes Slack channels, other Kubernetes Slack channels, and hope you have a nice day. Bye, folks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.